Hi guys, welcome to Supernatural Kids Church Online. My name is Miss Ellie and I teach 4 to 5-year-olds, and I'm so glad that you guys could tune into this video to see what God has to say. Today we're going to talk about God seeing our hearts. Did you know that we have a very big and huge heart, and it's special and important to God? Some people only see the outside of us. They only see what we're wearing, if we're tall or we're short, but they don't see your hearts. But do you know who sees your hearts? God. God sees what's inside your heart. He knows what you're feeling in your heart. If one day you're feeling sad, if you're feeling lonely, and you haven't told anybody, God already knows what you feel in your heart without you even saying anything. God knows what you feel inside. God knows that you're lonely, that you're happy, that you're sad, that you're mad. Anything that you're feeling in your heart, God already knows, because our hearts are really special to Him. In the Bible, there's a story of a guy, and his name was David, and he was a king. He was King David, and he was a super special guy in the Bible. Why? Because he was a king and he loved God with all of his heart. Yes, King David was not perfect and he did make lots of mistakes, but God, when God chose him to be king, He didn't care about those mistakes. He saw David's heart, and David's heart was so big and so wonderful, and that's why God chose him to be king. What are some of the things that King David had in his heart that God loved so much? David trusted in God. He trusted Him with all of his heart. David trusted in God and God's power, because God is so powerful, and King David trusted in God with all of his heart. He trusted in God's power. Before God made King David king, God had already spoken to David, but David was patient, and he was waiting for the right time, for God's time. With all of his heart, King David said all his mistakes, he said all his errors, and he never made excuses for God. And King David gave his whole heart to God. He gave his whole life to God. And when King David gave his whole life to God, he also gave his whole heart to God. And God loved all those beautiful and wonderful things in David's heart. Even if King David wasn't perfect, God saw his heart and He knew King David's heart, because God knows all of our hearts, even when we haven't said anything or when we don't share what we feel in our hearts. So just like King David, we have to trust God. We have to trust God with all of our hearts, because God loves us so much, and our hearts are really special to God. We have to trust in God and give God our whole heart, because our hearts are so big. We cannot let anything bad happen to them. We have to protect them, we have to love them, and we have to trust in God that for Him to protect our hearts and clean our hearts, because our hearts are so important to God. Just like King David, how he trusted God with all of his heart and he gave God all of his heart, we have to do the same. Sometimes in your heart, you may feel sad, you may feel lonely, you may feel angry, but we cannot let that stay in our hearts. We have to ask God to remove that from our hearts. We have to trust in God that He will not let us feel that. We have to trust in God and give God all of our hearts, so we don't feel sad, afraid, scared of what might happen, loneliness. If we start speaking bad about our friends, we cannot let that. That's why we have to give all of our hearts to God, because God sees your heart. Even if you don't say anything, He sees your heart and He knows your heart. Our hearts is like a treasure. It's a treasure to God, because our hearts are so powerful, and that's why it's our treasure. It's a treasure to God, and God treasures your heart, because your heart, you have your own heart and I have my own heart. But God knows what we feel in our hearts, and every heart is special and every heart is unique in its own way. And God loves each and every one of our hearts. That's why we have to keep it clean and we have to keep it pure. How do we keep our hearts clean and for our hearts not to get dirty or not to get unpurified? Well, by obeying your mom, your dad, God doesn't like it when you don't obey your parents, because in the Bible it says we have to obey our parents. And that's how you can have a clean heart. You can also clean your heart by forgiving people who have hurt you. If they have said anything that's hurt your feelings, if they have done anything that's hurt your feelings or get you mad or sad, forgive those people. And by not letting any of the bad things enter our hearts, because our hearts are so special and they belong to God. Just like God sees our hearts as a treasure, we have to keep it that way, and we cannot let anything bad enter our hearts. And when you do feel something that's entering your bad heart, give it to God. Tell God, God, this is what I feel. Here, take it. I surrender it to you. I give it to you because I don't want to feel this bad thing in my heart. I want to have my heart clean and pure for you. Well, guys, I hope you guys learned a lot in this lesson, just like King David, how he trusted God with all of his heart, and he gave God all of his heart, trusting God. Tell your mom, trusting God, because God enters my heart. He knows my heart and he loves every heart. Hope you guys learned a lot in this video, and always remember that God sees your heart and he knows what you're feeling in your heart. When you have not said anything, God already knows what you're feeling before you even say it. Share with a friend, guys. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.